content presented is for entertainment purposes only. Some content may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Periodic Review. My name is Jacob. This is my wonderful cohort and partner in crime, Mr. Alakai.
Did you say cohort?
Yes, I did say cohort. That's
okay.
That's a baller word, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was using my dictionary today.
I hope you use it regularly.
Yeah. Miss Rianne will also join us here in just a little bit. Welcome to the show. We really appreciate you watching another episode with us each week. We are undergoing a lot of changes, so definitely make sure that you're following us over on Facebook, on YouTube, the Twitters and Twitches and all that other fun talks. Gosh, that sounds like such a boomer.
Okay,
basically, boomer. Yeah, just follow us on everything. Follow us on YouTube. Hit that dang bell so you know when we go live. Because there's going to be a lot of changes in the future, and they're going to be really good changes, and I think you all will really like them. But also, if you want to jump in on the conversation, you can chat, and Mr. Alakai will put your question up on live, actually, on the wonderful episode.
You know what, Jacob?
And also, yes, sir.
Don't ever change.
I'll try not to, man.
Just get naked.
But it's just like, as you all know, can see right now, we obviously don't have our cameras on anymore. We're having some technical difficulties. So, but yeah, we're all doing this shirtless and pantless right now. So we just got
we just got done with an orgy in the basement.
We just got shoes, a shirt, and we got service.
Definitely shouldn't say that on the podcast. I'm sorry.
You guys realize I do know people.
Sorry, Mom.
It's okay.
Yeah,
I know people too.
And they totally watch us.
But Mr. Alakai will take your questions. So if you want to chime in via chat over on YouTube, on our YouTube page on the live episode, we'd love to hear your questions. But in addition to that, if you would like to submit any news or articles or like cool links that you think you would love to hear, either Alakai or Ian or my reaction or commentary, we'd love for you to shoot that over to us at theperiodicreview@gmail.com. All the information is in the description of the video down below.
Do you want me to talk about like the time change that we're doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we can talk about that right now if you want.
So something that we're in discussion, Rianne's just setting up her mic right now.
Make sure to crank that hard.
I did.
Something that we discussed doing earlier today is starting our podcast now at about 8 p.m. instead of, closer to 7 p.m. now. We're working on making the podcast a little bit more structured because, Jacob and I have a lot of fun just kind of taking topics and going all over the place. And while we enjoy doing that, we do want to try to make this podcast a little bit more structured, so it's a little easier for everybody to follow and keep up with, so we don't keep on exploding all over the place as we normally do. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I enjoy doing it, but at the same time, it's also helpful to have a solid topic to go on for
at least to get things started.
Yeah, for just something easy to talk about for our hour or hour and a half or however long that we're on here. But
Yeah, I think we're going to continue these shorter ones for a minute. And I think once we get to the point where it is a bit more structured, where it's kind of feeling like we're flowing really good, then I think we might eventually, once we kind of have our pre-record base, so because we are, Rianne and I are going out of town this weekend, so it's going to be another pre-record for next week. So it won't be live, unfortunately. But that way there's something coming out every week. It's not just if something happens, let's say I get COVID and then the next week Alakai goes out of town or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying I want that. I definitely don't want that. I have close people to me that have had it and it's not fun. But I do want to say that we definitely want to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and making sure if we do need breaks, if we have vacations and family time and stuff like that, that we have that opportunity, and we'll also make sure there's something for you guys to watch and enjoy.
Amazing.
And maybe might get like Rianne coming in like a tornado every once in a while.
Yeah, Hurricane Rianne.
We always love having Rianne around on here.
Yeah.
Rianne's always got interesting stuff to say and talk about.
I was just referring to the fact that every time I come in, I make like such a commotion trying to like
You do not
get everything.
No, you really
adjusted.
don't. Actually, it wasn't distracting at all.
The most, I think, the only thing on this podcast that makes a commotion is the dogs. But that's only when they have their collars on.
Yeah,
Like,
well, they got their collars on, jingling and jangling as they come down the stairs and jump up next to us and sit in our laps. And
that, or you'll hear one of us go, because they'll jump on our private parts,
crotchal areas,
genitalia,
or our
You're sensitive.
my
bits.
me time zone,
or ejaculation station.
Oh my goodness. I was not expecting that.
I wasn't expecting that either, but that was brilliant.
I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't expecting it either.
Dude,
but my brain does some
classic. Effing classic.
My
The
brain does some weird
ejaculation
shit.
station. I want to say I heard that before, but I can't like recall. So I'm going to say you coined it, sir. It's yours. You heard it first here on the periodic review.
TM, my guys.
Too much.
Oh my god.
Oh, TMI, sir. TMI.
Oh, I meant TM as in trademark, but that works.
Oh,
too.
oh my goodness. I'm such a boomer.
Okay, boomer.
Okay, boomer. It's also my dog's name, so he kind of like gets excited when I say that.
Boomer.
Okay, bummer.
Bummer.
Yeah, he's like, what are
Wait,
you, what are you
did
asking
you-
me?
Did you get both of theirs done or just Starbucks?
No, both of theirs done. Got both of theirs done.
And it was only $10 for both of them?
Who's done?
Yeah, it was $10,
Wow.
and then I gave them like a $5 tip because
What
they're
are we-
just really good, and it was really nice for them to just
Getting
get
what
us
done?
in. We
The
got the dog's
nails.
nails grinded
Trimmed.
down.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Come on.
Yeah, the dew claws on
Starbuck.
which is our Chihuahua Terrier mix. He's a mutt.
He's
They
so cute.
they grow a lot faster than his other nails, and what happens with the dew claw is it curls, and then it curls in, and it starts growing in to the pad.
Yeah, right.
And that's when it gets painful and it's not nice. And so we've had that a couple of times, and so we just want to make sure that they're not in pain and they're happy and
What's up,
they're
dog?
having fun. What else has gone on? What are we talking about today? Let's talk sex. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's talk about
Wait.
sex, baby. Let's talk
about
about
you and me. Let's talk about sex.
No, it's let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Then it's
that, yeah.
Let's talk about sex. Well,
yeah.
every
This-
time this dog gets onto my lap, I have to immediately shield my ejaculation station.
can we not say twig and berries?
Declare
My twig and berry.
bankruptcy.
The pillar and the stones.
Ugh.
The twig and the berries.
See.
The royal jewels.
And Rianne's sitting over here going like, ah. But then you got those other women out there that are like, oh, I'm just like one of the guys. Like, no, you are not.
There's always those girls that are like, I'm just one of the guys.
Are you though?
Maybe.
Are you?
I don't know. There's some that bro down pretty well. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I've had some really good girls that were friends growing up that were just like one of the boys.
This is another one of those topics though, like, can like men and women be friends? Like, yes, of course, but there's also that whole thing of like, do women subconsciously know that not all men want to be their friends because men are men and will hit on women, and there will always be that whole thing, that tension that's going on. I was having this discussion with a friend the other day at work, and they were talking about how like every guy friend that they've ever had just ends up hitting on them. And I was like, that's fair. I'm a guy friend and I'm not hitting on you, so
I
I
was
don't
say, like legit hitting on them, or were they just like joking around, like, oh yeah, we should totally go out.
And so
Let's
like
make out.
from her
'Cause guys
words,
do
not
that
mine.
too.
Yeah, her words, not mine. So
Bro, don't touch my butt.
no, touch my butt. I'm cool with it.
Get over here, you son of a bitch.
Okay.
Sorry.
This turn of conversation is making me a little uncomfortable.
Oh, it is. We apologize. We apologize to everybody out there. If
I'm fully aware that y'all have
crazy.
a bromance going on. I just
I wasn't
don't need
referring-
to be a witness of it.
I wasn't referring to.
Can I get a witness?
Okay, I'm gonna clarify really quick. I wasn't referring to Jacob touching my butt, but like the whole like girls touching guys' butts. Like I don't know why guys are so like defensive about like, oh, don't touch my butt. I'm like, no. If we're dating and you want to touch my butt, I don't care.
Really? You've had friends that are like with their
Yeah.
girlfriends, don't touch my butt?
Yeah.
For real?
That's like a huge thing. Like a lot of guys are just like, no, I don't want my girl touching my butt. And I'm like, why?
That's
I don't
weird.
get it.
Wait
That's
a minute.
very odd.
No.
That's
You can't
very
say
odd.
that because you have told me not to touch your butt.
Oh,
When?
and when have you told him not to touch your butt?
I have told him not to touch certain things, but I don't think I've ever told him not to touch my butt.
Don't touch my eyelids.
You get away from my earlobes right now. You step back, sir. Those are not for.
Okay, but
those
this
are
is
not
a
for
very
your
weird
consumption.
Don't touch me there.
Me
That
and
is my no square.
No, you guys listen. Seriously.
No square.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Go on, Rian.
I'm-
I'll explain it later.
Okay, yeah, I get the no. Okay. Such a nerd. This is the weirdest thing. And
crying.
Alakai, maybe, I don't know if you do this or not, but like my married friends,
I'm not married.
I know. So this is, I don't know. But like my married friends, they're like, yeah, my husband just reaches over and like hunks my boobs like all the time. Like out of nowhere. And I'm like, it's weird. But like as soon as I got married, like, anyway, is that a thing? Like if you're dating somebody, do you feel like you can just reach over and honk a boob?
It depends on how close we are and how developed we are in the relationship. If we're like really, really close, yeah.
Boob honking occurs, as well as butt grabbing.
But also,
But you do realize,
lobe licking.
unless the boundary has been set, like do not, then yeah.
well, so this is the thing. Okay, we're getting in here. You guys brought up sex. Let's talk about it.
I guess we are talking about
Okay.
it. Okay, everybody.
So let's talk about this. Because when women and men get together, at least this has just been my experience from having friends who are with the opposite sex, whatever. But like men have a tendency to think that when you're in a relationship, you can kind of do whatever you want to your partner whenever you want. Because historically, that's how it's been for men. Very, like, I mean, men kind of just can do, like, it's a societal norm, right? And men think, oh yeah, it's cool because I like them. I'm showing affection. I'm doing it lovingly, whatever. But it's still very hard for a woman because it's her body. And like all of a sudden, she's supposed to allow this person, like historically, she's supposed to allow this person to possess it. They can do whatever they want with it whenever they want, kind of thing. And even though it's not done, like this was kind of a interesting thing for me to learn. Even though it's not done in a abusive way or a possessive way, or it still communicates that on some level,
Right.
and communicates the fact that you're my person, you're my wife, you're my girlfriend, whatever, and I own you. I get to do whatever I want whenever I want, right? And sometimes I welcome it because, yeah, sure, I'm feeling in the mood. But sometimes I don't want somebody touching up on my boobs. I love you, Jacob, but this is a conversation I had to realize I had to set this boundary because he does that, which is fun because it's flirty. Like, it's your flirtation.
But just so
and all
we're
that stuff.
clear, I don't do that in public. I do that in private.
Oh, I should
Just
have
so
known
we're clear. Just so we're clear.
Whoa. That's not always the case.
Well, I have patted your butt in public. I'll say that. That is true. I have done that.
Okay, anyway.
I haven't done the other thing in public.
Anyway. We're not talking about specifics, like specific
You're
times.
bringing it up. So
I am, but I'm
I was
bringing it up
chiming in.
as a discussion point because, like, you are one of the most kind-hearted men I ever have met. That's one of the reasons why I married you. Like, you don't think like a horrible power hungry guy who wants to rape somebody to have, you know what I mean? You're not a violent person. You're not a person that wants to exhibit power and control and stuff.
Nope.
Yeah. So like,
I want you to be you.
Exactly. But there was still that dynamic of where that was happening, and I never set the boundary because I didn't think I could. It was nothing you were doing. It was me, because of the way I grew up and the way I was trained and how women are supposed to be the object for men kind of thing. It was like that ingrained belief that I had. And I was like, and like, even in the times when you would do it, not being mean or anything, but you were trying to flirt, and where I was like, no, that I don't want you to touch there right now, you know?
And that's why you got to talk to your significant other, and you got to set boundaries.
Right. So that's a boundary we had to set. But I was just wondering, like, because I've talked to several friends who have had the same type of thing, you know?
So I think it also depends on the scenario. So for example, let's say I've got my lady in the kitchen and I walk past her to go and grab something, and like she's facing like towards the counter, her butt's there. I'm probably going to give it a little pat on the way where I'm going.
Okay.
I feel like that's okay, right?
It depends on the person. For me,
Right.
That's not an area that I feel overly protective of.
Okay.
Like that, when that area is touched in a flirtatious way or anything, it doesn't bother me.
It's
But-
kind of like,
But you would tell but you know, in this scenario, you would tell your significant other if it did become a problem to the point where you're like, you know, I'm not really comfortable with you doing that all the time. So maybe not do that.
okay, so
The thing is sometimes women don't realize that they're uncomfortable with it because that's just what they like. That is the norm for them, and that's what they feel. It's very hard to explain, but like that's the societal norm, right? That it's a possession, an object, and blah blah blah.
Okay, so there's that scenario. There's also, like, let's say movie night, like we're cuddling on the couch. Sometimes cuddling positions can be a little bit awkward, like just the way that you're sitting, like my arm like might be around like kind of just below her neck, and like her boob is like within reach, so I might just be like, oh, hat, and then just like go back. But like I
think it
this
depends
is
on the
also like
person.
this is
really
also
depends
like
on
where
the
it
girl.
comes. This is also where like that whole communicating your boundaries comes. Like I'll often also say like, is this okay? Like, does this make you uncomfortable at all? Like, does it bother you that I do this so much? Does it like I like to ask those questions because I don't want to be like, because like you said, like they don't know their boundaries. They don't know if they're uncomfortable. So that's why I like to ask, like, is this okay?
You
like,
check in, which is exactly what you're supposed to do. And
especially if there's a vibe, or if like she give you a look.
Yeah.
Or if all of a sudden, like, she went from just having a t-shirt on, you honked her boob, and she's like, I'm going to put my hoodie on. Then that
At
might
that
be
point,
a
that's
signal
like,
to be like,
that's
that
a social
work for
cue.
you, or?
That's a social cue to tell you no.
Right.
because also, like, women don't feel like they can exhibit that autonomy. It's because, like, if they were to exhibit, say, like, okay, so say we're dating, right? Jacob, you and I, we're dating. We're not married in this scenario.
Okay,
But
go.
you are a 6'3" big bear of a man. I find that extremely attractive. But I'm also keenly aware that if it were to come down to it,
I could overpower you, yeah.
exactly, right? That's like a subconscious knowledge thing. All women have that. Like, it's...
Yeah.
Okay? And so, also, like, if women were to resist or even slightly reject a man, sometimes their behavior can be very unpredictable. Men, like, we all react to rejection differently, right? But let's say, okay, well, I really like this dude. Like, he's cool, he's cute, blah, 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 blah. And let's say Jacob touches my boob and was like, boo, and like he's flirting, but it kind of made me uncomfortable. But I don't want to say it made me uncomfortable, because if I do that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what his reaction's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And he might like ghost me, do whatever, right? So I don't want to ruin it. And that's kind of
That's fair.
so like, but that's what's hard, is because,
Right.
and women have that draw that they care about, like, that's the nurturer type person. It's like, well, I don't want to make him uncomfortable, so I'll be uncomfortable instead.
Well,
And
and to
I
have
will-
to have a good relationship, there needs to be some discomfort in that regard. Of if there's something that you're just like, I'm not cool with this, you should like, and if you really care about other person and you want them in your life, you should tell them, hey, this doesn't really work for me, or hey, this makes me feel uncomfortable, because
Yeah,
like,
but
especially if you're dating, because like if that's something that you can't overcome or get through, like if you're years down the road and let's say you get married and you have 3 kids or whatever, and that still makes you uncomfortable, like that's going to be a pretty big deal
not
when you finally get to the
necessarily.
point. Well, for some people it will be. I'm not saying it would be necessarily for me, but what I'm saying is that it's important that you set boundaries. It's important that if something does come up, you need to say, hey, I'm not cool with that, or I'm not cool with that in this setting, or I'm cool with that but in this other setting. Like, it's really important
Okay.
that you communicate that.
I get that, but
Um,
is what I'm saying is, historically, women have never been in a position to where they could, not never, but historically, women
that is true.
are not
Historically,
in
it
a
was,
position to be able to
Generalized
have that
speaking through
conversation.
statistics.
Yeah.
yeah, in the past, women definitely have not been in
And-
that position.
Like, this is where the feminism and all this stuff, like, I hate it because it's divisive, but I think it's very important for women to understand that they have the autonomy and the ability to set those boundaries. But it's very hard because it's ingrained in them in so many ways, in so many different facets through society.
Yeah, religion,
Exactly.
a lot of different communical associations have definitely put that in, unfortunately, in the fairer sex, which is sad. But the good news is that we're at today, here in 2021,
Okay.
post-pandemic,
But
like, we're in a place now where that is socially acceptable. A woman can say to her boyfriend or to the guy she's dating, she's like, hey, I don't really appreciate you patting me on the butt in public. You can do it anytime when we're in private at our home or at my house or your house or whatever, but not in public. And honestly, if that dude is a good dude and he really cares about you, he'll say, all right, that's perfectly fine. I
okay,
can do that.
you would think that, yes, that is a very healthy way to go about it. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And there's a lot of different reasons for it, but like the mass consumption of pornography and over sexualization through like advertising and everything, that's still very prominent in society. And so while, yes, like we can say that's the ideal and stuff, subconsciously and like subliminally and everything, the message is completely opposite in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Well,
Still. And I mean, I know that's really hard for people to understand, but it's getting to the point where even like men are being objectified by other powerful, like it's really weird. But like there is a very big power dynamic that is still in existence even in 2021 with empowered women, blah blah blah, all that stuff.
okay. But would you say that we are better off today than we were yesterday? I would hope so. I mean,
I'm gonna
the whole
forego
point.
that question.
That's
Well, I'm just saying, like, that's what's good about having like a podcast and stuff like that, is that we can openly talk about this kind of stuff and kind of discuss it and share with the world that, hey, you know, this stuff is still happening and people are still experiencing this. And I know women are still experiencing this. And a part of that is, and I think a part of that is nurture, part of that is societal, especially how we depict, you know, women in movies and stuff like that. Like, that's also very important. But it, at the base core level, that's where it's really important to have good parents, because I think having good parents that have good relationships, with their spouse, and then they teach good principles to their children. They don't necessarily have to even be religious or straight or bi or gay. It doesn't really matter. If they're instilling good human qualities in their children, then more than likely they're going to become better human beings than they were.
You would hope.
I mean, I do have kind of an idealistic viewpoint when it comes to society and when it comes to this world. I really do give the benefit of the doubt that good things can still happen, and they happen a lot more often than we hear about the bad things, because the bad things, they get the clicks, they get the motion, they get the viewpoint, and it gets broadcasted a lot more, because that's what's really interesting. That's what excites people, which is unfortunate. But I have to think that this world is moving into a good direction. Now, is there a lot of places where it's not? Absolutely. I mean, life ebbs and flows just like the world ebbs and flows. And right now we're kind of in a downturn direction in a lot of ways. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really important that men treat women with respect. And if they don't hear the auditory cues, they need to be coherent enough and aware enough to see the nonverbal cues. I think that's something that people need to look after. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at it. I'm not saying that, I'm someone that exemplifies that kind of ideal, but I'd like to think that I'm more aware now than I was, when I was 25.
Well, yeah, because you've had a good wife to teach you.
Well, that's a good point too. You need a good wife to teach you.
Yeah, you do. You need somebody that you have a relationship with who you're willing to receive that information from. When you're in dating relationships, I don't think people are always open to that. I don't know, Alakai,
I think it depends on the person. I was open to it.
Open to what exactly do you mean?
To feedback or to the communication. I mean, well, you know what? You're an old soul, so you're probably.
I was gonna say, I honestly, I love feedback and I love getting criticism, like especially hearing it from a significant other that I trust.
But it has to have a relationship of trust, right?
Well, yeah, because at that point you can understand that they're telling it, they're giving you the feedback and the criticism with good intention. That person is there to help you become, or to help you grow as a person. They're not there to like try and bash you. Like they're going to, of course I want to know exactly what's on their mind, because like I want to like learn from them and improve as a person. Like I want that from them.
Yeah, but you're a unique. Well, I don't know.
Like, I think there's more people like Alakai than I think we realize.
I don't see myself as unique. Like I'm.
Well, you're unique because you are you.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you think therefore you are. So you are unique in that.
Everybody's
sense.
brain is a completely different universe. I know, but like, no. I do think that they're, kind of like what you were saying earlier, like the world moving in like a positive direction. Thing is, it is and it isn't. Like
it's like a river. It's not good or bad. It's just in flux. It's in flow.
A lot of things that are going on in the world, whether it be positive or negative, they're just expanding and they're amplifying. For example, porn sites are going down. OnlyFans is coming up. Like, girls I know are literally selling their nudes on the internet and videos of them having sex with their partners on the internet, and that's how they're making their living.
Yeah.
So yeah, like porn sites might be going down, but that itself is going up.
Do their partners know that they're being filmed?
They should. I that has to be like a legal thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a legal thing. I'm pretty sure you have to have
but that
consent.
doesn't mean
it
always happens.
I'm sure there are situations where they don't know, and it is
uploaded. A little closer to the microphone.
That'll bring the mic closer to you.
There you go.
Put
that in your mouth.
I'm sure it is the case. I don't doubt at all that there are videos on that site in which the partner is unaware that they were filmed. I don't doubt it at all. That's another one of those negative issues where that is being amplified.
Yeah.
Take TikTok, for example. There are a lot of trends out there that are like pushing for men to be open about their feelings because the suicide rate in men is so high because of the expectations that men are given of like, you can't cry, or like your feelings don't matter because you
like
have to man
suck
up.
it up, buttercup, and like move on.
Like that, a lot of that toxic masculinity is starting to die down.
Yeah.
It is also being amplified through a lot of like the workplaces. TikTok is also amplifying a lot of toxic trends. For example, there was one trend that I saw of like male partners filming the reaction of their female significant other, while the audio that's playing is like a guy talking about, at one point your woman was with another guy, they were holding hands, they did all these sexual things, and I'm like, that is so toxic. Like, is she with that guy anymore? No, she chose you. She loves you. Like, obviously they didn't work out, but you guys are working out. But if you keep doing this trend, you might not. So, yeah. Like, all the issues that are around, they're being amplified, they're being like brought down. Everything's just expanding and growing. Well, it really just depends on whatever issue it is.
Well, so, a lot of the positive and negative context of things, a lot of it is just put on us that have given it that positive and negative context because that's what humans do. But pretty much anything in this world can either benefit or damage you in one way, shape, or form. Like speed. Like, for instance, like speed in large, copious amounts, can...
What do you mean speed? Can you clarify?
Like, it's like a drug.
Oh, okay.
Like speed the drug.
Gotcha.
Well, I guess speed kills. I guess speed kills when it comes to cars too. So I guess that
I was gonna say,
I wasn't very clear
when you went to
that.
speed, my mind immediately just went to speeding in cars.
Yeah, that's
sorry. Continue.
And I just realized that because you were like so confused, and I'm like, oh, he's thinking cars.
And if I'm thinking it, the chances are other people are thinking it. Continue. Sorry.
That's a good clarification. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Thanks for having my back. I love you.
I love you too, man. Continue.
So like speed is bad in copious amounts, and it can destroy your life, and you can be addicted to it, right? On the other hand, speed can be very beneficial in small doses, which is basically, it's an amphetamine, just like we use today in the past with Ritalin and now Adderall. It helps kids with focus. Mm-hmm. So, there's
a whole controversy honestly, around that too.
I realize this. Yeah. Because it does.
Everything we're talking about is controversial. But
absolutely. In one way or another, it is going to be controversial. So we got to do what we got to do. But the reality is, if we didn't have pornography, we wouldn't have the internet. Because that's what fueled the ability to have the World Wide Web. If we didn't have pornography, and if it wasn't such a huge business online, we wouldn't have had companies like Amazon, eBay, diapers.com, everything that you can even think of. Like, porn did it first.
I'm not really sure what porn has to do with websites like Amazon or like Netflix.
Well,
like
good. That's taking the good with the bad kind of a deal, because the internet just is. Like, the internet isn't good or bad. Whatever you put on it can be good or bad.
Okay. I don't know that I necessarily agree that we wouldn't have the internet without porn. I don't know that I agree with that.
Yeah, you were making a claim that... Are you saying pornography was the motivation to make the internet?
Yes, that was a big motivation to get like internet and people connected, not only with pictures and videos, but with each other. Like, live sex chat was like one of the second things that came out besides like live videos and pictures. Like, and that all that stuff was pretty much first before like websites really.
I think we need a fact check on this.
I still,
I could be completely talking out of my ass.
Well, it's true.
I'm pretty sure that's what I understand. I could be wrong.
We have Google, which is the world's internet encyclopedia, in which where you can find information on anything. So I mean, whether it's businesses, education.
Well, Wikipedia is technically our current online encyclopedia.
Yeah, but anybody can edit Wikipedia. It is not a super reliable source, which is why you have other articles
Well,
like
that's a good point.
New York Times.
But Google's not necessarily the most reliable source for that sort of stuff either.
You're right. I'm using Google as an example as like it is something that we have used as like a library for the internet in which to like search for information, whether it be education, business.
But that's the thing about like the internet. Like pornography is still the number one like income producing like category online.
You think so?
Hands down. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
We won't even talk about the dark web.
I would rather not. We do not promote the dark web on here. So.
But anyways, yeah, there's always good and bad in anything, and so it really comes down to the people that are involved with everything. So coming back down to couples, it's really important.
I was gonna say we went from couples and we went from sex to relationships to internet
to website to pornography, and now we're back.
Okay.
Welcome back, everybody. This is the Squirrel Show. Whoop! There's a squirrel.
Okay.
All right, now back
to couples. What were you saying?
So I was just saying that it's really important, with your significant other of consenting age, that you guys really talk about what is okay and what is not okay in your relationship.
Safe words.
Safe words, very
Mango.
important.
Goat.
Applesauce.
Mango.
Cottage cheese.
Jacob.
So it's really important to have these conversations. And if you're not able to have conversations, like make sure that you are watching closely to what your significant other does when you do certain things, because she could be telling you non-verbally. Like a majority of our communication is nonverbal.
Body language.
Body language is very important. So learn about that stuff and learn to pick up on it. It's really important.
This brings me back to I had a thought that I was gonna say, and we went on a whole tangent on the internet. Yeah, so the whole
you can say it now.
The whole like communication with boundaries thing. So Rianne, you were talking earlier about like you never know how the guy's gonna react, right? So it's like it is a two-way street too. That was weird how I said that.
No, but
it is also a two-way street where like the man doesn't want to scare the woman. Maybe the guy is the kind of guy that gets off on the whole intimidation thing. If that's the case, bro, you got some toxic traits. Safe words, you got to listen to that shit. The word no is something that you got to listen to. Also, stop listening to Creed so much. Anyways.
Hey, I like Creed.
I do not like
Why
that.
Why is everybody shitting on Creed lately? Like, they've has been banned for so long, and I love their music.
Okay,
Leave them be.
I'm coming.
Leave Britney alone, okay? Leave Britney alone.
Jacob.
Yes, go ahead.
So, but here's the other thing is you also have there's also the lens of trauma. Just say. Okay, right. Continue.
Yeah. So, where was I? Oh yeah.
You're right here.
Two-way street. Two-way street.
Two-way street.
Hence why like men should be asking like, is this okay? Am I doing too much of this? What am I doing that I should not be doing? What am I not doing that I should start doing? Like that whole thing. Always like check in for like the reassurance, because do that, because she may not know. Also, if you do communicate your boundaries to him and the way that he reacts is like within like lines of violence or like just unaccepting, at that point that should be enough to tell you that like where he's at, and the boundary that you need to set for that at that point is no, just leave him. He needs to go learn that shit on his own.
Okay.
He needs to go work on himself.
Like if your significant other does not take, like if you're like, hey, I need to sit down and I need to have a serious conversation with you. There's some things that I really need to talk to you about. And if they're not receptive, oh no, that's dumb. I can do whatever I want. Those kind of douchebags. Like you leave that ass. You leave him in the dust.
He's clearly got some things that he needs to work on.
Absolutely. Amen.
Like, yeah, definitely don't be afraid to walk away from a relationship in which you are feeling scared. Granted, I know, like, in some cases, like...
So that's coming to a woman who's pretty much confident and well aware of who she is and what she wants. But most women are not there because of the way they've been treated or taught. Past experience and everything has taught them that's not okay. And so it's a very different lived experience for women to have. I don't like, it's so interesting to hear you guys say that. Like, I love that, but at the same time, the perspective from a woman's point of view is different. Like, and I can say that, like, okay, yes, but as a woman who thought she was pretty confident and assured in who she was, I still got into a relationship where I was mentally, emotionally abused and manipulated, gaslighted, and everything because I wanted to belong and be loved by somebody. And that sometimes is such a strong need for women that they will forego so many boundaries.
So what are...
well, at least, like, and that is why, like, abusive relationships and everything, when people get so frustrated and women keep going back, they don't understand.
Yeah, they don't understand the psychology of somebody who's in trauma.
Especially, yeah.
So what are the red flags exactly that women should look for and should, like, absolutely say no to? And at which point, like, they should say, like, this is it. I need to draw the line and get out.
It's different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, some women stay in abusive relationships because they've been, like, 99% of the women who are in abusive relationships are financially abused, and so they become financially dependent, and so it's literally they have to stay there to survive, even
or they
though
have
it's killing them.
Or they have children, and they feel like they need to stay in that relationship for their offspring.
Like, women will go back because they can't afford diapers for their kids. You know, so there's so many different dynamics. And, like, here's the thing, having been in an abusive relationship where I tried to set boundaries and I was gaslit because my husband was ex-husband, I should say.
I was going to say, please be clear about that.
Was extremely...
So he's not targeted.
I am not an asshole, just so everybody knows.
Not all the time.
Look, man, even I'm an asshole, so...
Yeah.
So...
Not like physically. That's not possible, but...
That's true. But everybody has one, and sometimes they stink.
Sorry, Rian. Go on.
But the thing is he was extremely intelligent, and he would gaslight me. Make me think I was the crazy one. Make me think I was the one that was abusing him.
So he knew exactly what he was doing and how to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because all I wanted was to love him and, like, fix him and make him feel loved, because he would, you know, like, he knew how to play on all of those things.
And he knew that, and he knew how to take advantage of that.
Yes.
See, that's the thing too. Like, men like that, to me, that blows my mind. That.
But it does happen more often than we think, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So not all abuse is physical. Like, he did.
No, a lot of abuse is mental and emotional. Like, it's not all physical.
I mean, he did hit once in a while, but not. He knew that if that happened, I'd kick him out. And anyway, so he used all the other forms. I was like, if a woman gets physically abused, if she doesn't leave, blah, blah, blah. I was so judgy. I was one of the judgiest people when it came to that. I see. Okay. But here's the other thing. He also used sex to abuse. And that's where I learned, like, oh, I have to let you do whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I have to let men blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And that's why it was really...
So what Alakai was saying was, what are some of the red flags that women should, or people should look for in their spouse?
That they normally, wouldn't see... Yeah. Or like too blinded by
well, love is blind.
Well,
in a lot of ways.
That's really hard because it's different for
everybody.
everybody.
Yeah.
But some classic tells are abusers will use isolation. So they'll start isolating you from friends or like getting
So like you can't hang out with them. I don't like them.
or like
a lot of those guys must have gotten off on the whole like when COVID was a thing.
Oh God.
Like
Yeah.
'Kay. It was a very scary time
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But like isolation, like, and it's not like he won't come out and say, I don't want you to go hang out with your friends. He'll come out and say, but babe, I want to spend time with you. I love you so much. Why don't you want to spend time with me?
Like I just got off work. I've had a really hard day.
I just
Why don't
want to
we do
spend some
something?
time with you and blah, 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 blah. And it starts out like that and everything. And so expectations and habits are formed. And then it's not something that like there's a ton of red flags. And when you're in a relationship,
Because a lot of it sounds very innocuous or very innocent.
So
From what it sounds like to me, it sounds very innocent.
Mm-hmm. So one of the ways
Oh, it's like, whoa.
Hold up.
Come on, babe.
One of the ways my ex-husband isolated me from my family was my mom and I had a very hard relationship, but my mom was the only family I had because my dad had passed away.
Right.
And so he would start saying things like, your mom just doesn't appreciate you. She doesn't let you feel your feelings.
instead of like she's your only one. So
he would start pointing out the things that would bug me and amplify the things that like he knew would bug me or hurt me that my mom did.
yeah.
And like use those constantly to make me feel like my mom didn't care, my mom didn't love me, my mom prioritized everybody else, blah, 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 blah.
So basically
tried
created
to-
a narrative in your mind subconsciously and consciously to the point where you're like, I think you're right.
Because it wasn't a red flag because it came across as he was caring for me. And that's how he isolated me from her.
Wow.
And then once I was isolated and that wedge was established, he could do whatever he wanted. Because how could I go back to my mom? I hadn't talked to her for a year. She wouldn't want me now. And he would tell me. So it went from like, I'm doing this because I love you, because I care about you, like by validating me. Okay. He was an extreme narcissist, by the way. And it went from that to, you're lucky I'm married to you. Nobody would have you. You're too fat. You're too ugly.
Wow. So it was like the polar
He would
opposite
say stuff like that.
of everything.
Yes.
Like,
once I was
but I love you, and I want
isolated.
you to be with me and blah, blah, blah. And then it was the exact opposite once he had you.
Oh, but it would go back and forth. That's like the gaslighting thing. He'd show affection in certain ways to manipulate, and I'd think things are okay. And then,
I want to come back to this in a different angle, but
Wow.
finish.
but like that's how it starts. And see, I didn't see the red flags because it was him validating me and making me feel special and making me feel loved. And like, he was the one, he was my hero. He was there for me. He was the only one that was there for me. Everybody else, blah, 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 blah. Right? So to me, that's not a red at that time because I was in such a vulnerable place. I had just lost my dad. My mom was, and he knew I was vulnerable. And that's the thing. These type of guys know. They can pick up on that.
Wow.
They look for that.
Like,
And that's why I married you, because that's not the way your mind thinks at all.
no.
And that's how I'm like, hi, yes.
Yeah.
And I didn't know those were red flags until I went through it.
And especially like when, like looking back in my life and where I was in a place of trauma, like even if it was reversed, like let's say I was like in a relationship with a woman and like she was doing that to me, but all I wanted was just to be loved, and at that point in time didn't even love myself, and I was struggling to love others, but somebody was willing to put the time, or seemingly put the time in to make me feel like I was being loved. I could see that I could have fallen into that as well.
Well, it happens. Like, women do it to men too. They do.
Yeah. Wow.
Like, feminism
It's just
is
nuts.
great and it's awesome, but it's also put that type of, and for a man to claim domestic violence and stuff, can you imagine the stigma to that? Because I have a family member who legitimately...
Well, it's happening more and more.
Yeah, but I have a family...
more men are coming out and saying, hey, I'm being abused right now.
So one of my family members was in a very physically abusive relationship.
Mm-hmm.
He was Alakai's, he was your size, and his partner, they weren't even married at the time. He got her pregnant and stayed with her because...
That's what you do. That's what a man does.
Well, because, yeah.
I got you pregnant. I got to take care of you.
Seriously, the kids are so cute. So cute. But she was like 6'1" or 6'2" or something. Very big. She was like your size.
Really?
She was. Wow. And she was physically abusive to my family member. So, anyway.
That's not sorry.
So, your thought, Alakai.
Oh, yeah. So, I wanted to come back to the thing. I wanted to come back to something that you had said from a different angle. So, talking about how your ex-husband would like emotionally and like mentally manipulate you, like the whole isolation thing of like, I just want to spend time with you, like that whole thing. So here's something that like a lot of men are also terrified of, is like they know that it can come off like that and don't want it to. Because what if like they really did have a hard day at work and they come home and their wife is like the one thing that they want to spend time with, because like, shit went down at work. Like they genuinely did have a hard day and they come home, they just really want to spend time with the person that they love. So what's a good way for that man to like go about communicating that with their significant other in order for but for like also for it to come off to their wife as like in like a safe way? Does that make sense how I'm wording it? I feel like
yeah. So you're,
I think I know what you're saying.
You're saying like, well, if I start saying this, or if I express my need, is it going to come across that I'm trying to isolate or trying to
manipulate or
manipulate? Yeah. No, it's not. And that's why it's so hard to say what's a red flag and what's not. Because do you see, like, he utilized that sort of thing to like create a strong connection between us, more so than with other people. And the other thing is I had friends who were saying, "Okay, we're worried about you." Like, this is
that's
weird.
the red flag you're looking for. If your close friends or your close family members are going, "Hey, something's up," you should probably take a second look and get a second opinion.
But here's the other kicker. I was in such a hard place. I was struggling to relate to my friends. I had just lost my dad at the age of 25.
And that's hard to go through.
That's hard. And none of my friends had experienced a loss like that. They didn't know how to like help me deal with grief, or, you know what I mean? And so it was awkward for them. So they kind of distanced themselves. Like, I was in a very vulnerable place. I was in a very vulnerable place. And here's the thing.
So it was like the perfect storm. Like, you were vulnerable and traumatized. He was manipulative and narcissistic. Like, it was like the perfect storm kind of a deal.
It's not the perfect storm. Like, abusive men, or men who like feed off of that.
People that are abusive,
they look for that. They're attracted to that.
And that's where it comes down to what kind of person are you.
So Anyway, but allocate, like, you can express your needs in a relationship, but where it's really tested is when your partner expresses their need for space or a break. How is that received and how is that responded to?
Gotcha. Okay.
So, like, let's say you had a really hard day, you just want to spend time with her and or them.
But
whatever.
she's got like these plans to go hang out with her friends.
You can say,
I think an ask would be really good.
you could ask for sure, but also the other thing is, if I decided to go with my friends instead of stay home, I was punished by he would isolate and withdraw love and affection, and you know what I mean?
So he'd stop saying I love you, he'd stop talking to you, he'd stop touching you, like he would, like all the things, like the love language, right? Which is what's the love languages? Touch? No, verbal.
Words of affirmation. Physical touch. Gifts. Quality time.
Yeah. So if you withdraw those, that's a pretty big deal.
But he would do that to manipulate. And so, like, it was, well, only my needs are important. And if you do what you need to do to meet your needs, then you no longer get what, like, I will withdraw everything from you.
Okay. So asking is good.
Asking is good.
Hey, I've had a really hard day. Could we just Netflix and chill? Or maybe you can create a either or a compromise. Be like, well, I've kind of had a long day and it's been hard. Is it cool if we just chill tonight and we can go hang out with them tomorrow or later in the week or whatever? Like,
but the thing is like, yeah, you can set all that stuff up, but like when your significant other comes to you and expresses a need, what is your response? Right? Like, if it's inconvenient for you, are you going to get all blah, 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 blah? You know what I mean? As a means to control or manipulate.
So, okay. So 2 things. First of all, I think this is also like a good, like, it's a good thing to have friends like Jacob around. So like, say like she can't hang out, but can Jacob. So that way, like, I can still like use a support system that I have. But also at the same time, like, communicate to my significant other. Like, I've just been looking forward to seeing you all day. Do your thing. I'm going to go hang out with Jacob. What if we did something tomorrow?
Right.
yeah.
So
That way you still get your needs met.
Again, and
Right.
it's not just one instance, right? Like,
it's several different scenarios where this could be going on many different.
But the difference is like there's a pattern being set up to manipulate, right? Like if you're using that and it continually increases where you're trying, it's like asking for what you need every once in a while. Like, that's not a good or a bad thing. It's a good thing to ask for what you need. But if you're asking with the intent to try and isolate and like
manipulate,
keep them to yourself and like keep them, if the motivation behind it is I want them to myself, I don't want them hanging out, like, and make sure that's communicated, right? Like, I just need you tonight. Can you maybe move your plans to next week or to tomorrow?
Yeah, that's what I was.
Okay, so like saying. Reverse like what I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, compromise is always good. Or, hey, can we either or like, that's always important. And what's really interesting in relationships too is that sometimes, depending on the situation, sometimes it's important to see if you need to sacrifice what you want for the better of the relationship. Hopefully you don't have to sacrifice too much. But sometimes it's important where, you know what, I really care about this person. Yeah, I really don't like hanging out with this other person, but you know what? I can tolerate a little bit of discomfort so that they are more happy. but just be careful with that.
The imbalance is where it gets bad.
Yeah,
Where
you need to have a balance. So you always need to be in communication with your significant other. Absolutely.
Because healthy relationships, like you do, like have that separated time where it's like,
right. And it's not like you don't want a codependency to be established, right? Like and that's scary, because to love somebody so deeply and stuff, it would hurt if they were to leave and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where it's important for you to be your own person outside of your relationship as well. And it's too much to ask one person to be everything for you.
Because it's
not
possible.
Not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair, and it's not possible. I mean, nobody can be your perfect ideal person.
True.
So
that's what
So Rianne, what are some of the things that you would like if you could go back and tell your past self? What are some things that you would recommend, or things you would tell yourself to say, hey, like how would you communicate that, or what would you tell a friend that's going through the same thing? Like how would you say, hey, we need to have a talk, and this is what I would need to tell you? So
I don't. You never. Here's the thing. When a person's been in an abusive relationship, they've had all choices manipulated, and you know what I mean? Like they've never really been able to figure out what they want or what they need. And the more you try and tell them what you think they want or what you think they need, the more it's going to cause them to stay or whatever. The biggest thing is to give them choice and let them know you support them in the choice. Even if the choice is something you disagree with.
So if they're not supporting you and they're not giving you choice, then that's something you need to address.
No, wait. What are you talking about?
Is that what you're trying to say?
Like if you have a friend who you recognize is in a relationship that's scary, what's the question? I'm confused at your question.
I guess to kind of wrap it up, I kind of want to know what advice you would give to a person, or what encouragement or tools that you could give them to work through this stuff, so they could figure out, okay, this person is a piece of crap, I need to leave them, or this person, we need to work through some stuff so we can move forward. Like what kind of advice you would give? And
that's the thing. I won't give advice.
Well, obviously we're not doctors. We're not psychiatrists.
For the biggest thing you can do, the best thing you can do to help somebody who's in a relationship like that is literally to empower them to make their own decisions. Even if it's a decision you don't agree with, you can empower them to make a decision and then support them in it.
I think that's great advice.
Because that's what they've lost, is the ability to think they have to know they have the ability to make their own decisions.
Really quick, I'm going to jump in. I don't know how much time we're doing on the podcast here, but we're already at a little over an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's why I was just kind of getting a feel of, okay, what kind of advice we get. Because
okay, cool.
I think the bottom line of this podcast, I guess what it's kind of transformed
We're
into.
cool
Jacob,
to do like an hour and a half tonight on this podcast.
Yes.
Okay.
I thought we were wrapping up.
Oh, okay.
Well, no,
I don't know.
No, wait.
I didn't know if we were doing two or if we were doing.
No, we were just doing one, because
Okay,
we
cool.
gotta pack, because we are going on vacation, and we only have tonight and tomorrow.
Cool.
So
Alakai
All right,
had
I
a
was
thought.
just wondering what.
Didn't you have a thought you wanted to share?
Yeah, and then I thought about it, and I'll just say it off the podcast because I don't want to say it on the air. It mentions somebody I don't want to talk about.
Oh,
here,
gotcha.
and that's important. We don't want to.
Yeah.
We don't want to blast people out.
Sorry to blue ball you guys that are watching such.
Dang it, you got me close. Well, I think that's great advice, and I think it's good to ask questions, and it's also good to set boundaries. It's also good to communicate. Also good to ask questions. Hey, when you or let somebody know, hey, when you say that, it makes me feel a certain way. Or hey, when you're saying this, what are you trying to accomplish for me? Like it's really good to kind of get an idea of like what's going on in that. Because a lot of that, because if you start asking questions and start communicating, I think a lot of those, there's going to be a lot of holes in their stories that they're spinning.
No.
Bottom line,
they're just that good. But anyway,
bottom line, honest communication, reassurance, verbal and nonverbal.
Boundaries are good.
Communicating your boundaries, or understanding and knowing your boundaries.
That's the first big thing.
Yeah, and checking in.
But if you're a perpetrator and you know, or you're realizing you are, definitely seek out psychiatric help. I mean, talking to somebody is really important so you can better yourself and be a better human being. That's what this podcast is all about.
Much better to be loved than feared. So,
amen.
You get more with sugar than you do with vinegar. So is what I have to say. Yeah, is what I have to say about this. So is like how people learn how to set boundaries and how people learn how to be in relationships is in families.
Yes.
Okay. But
good, healthy families.
Yeah, but there's a problem. Not enough people know how to set boundaries and stuff because they have been in toxic family relationships and stuff. So like that's the hard part. And people are like, know your boundaries and stuff. It takes a lot of work to figure out who you are, what your boundaries are, what's okay, what's not. And sometimes that's really hard to do when we're constantly distracting ourselves with phone, with all the crap. Do you see what I'm saying?
We need to figure out how to escalate that and get that kind of stuff on TikTok and that kind of stuff on Facebook and that kind of stuff on YouTube and that kind of stuff on mainstream media, that kind of stuff in our schools, in our families. I agree.
That's why I'm so glad that our organization actually goes into schools and talks about how to have healthy relationships.
Yay. That's why I'm glad my workplace actually teaches kids social skills that they're not learning in their families. So.
Well, I'm sure we could probably do multiple podcasts with this topic, and I really hope we do. I think this is a really good one to talk about and to really get.
Yeah, I took it kind of dark really fast. Sorry.
Yeah, well, no. Here's the thing.
Here's the thing, though.
The reality of it.
Rian, you're also not afraid to talk about the things that most people are too afraid to talk about.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
Next week, we'll talk about how you don't teach your kids how to call their vagina a cookie or a penis a wee-wee or wiener.
We're going to talk about the birds and the bees.
When he and I have thoughts that we're not like, we don't have the full picture in, it's nice to have somebody that does have like
a more female perspective.
You have more to add to the picture and more perspective to add. So
yeah, absolutely. And on that note, thank you guys so much for watching this podcast today. We really do appreciate it.
Or and listening. There wasn't much to watch.
I guess you're absolutely right. But it is a video, and that's why I say that. So maybe I messed that up a little bit. But thank you so much for listening to our podcast and watching our beautiful sunset for the background. We do appreciate all of your support. If you do have any topics or articles or cool internet links, definitely send it to theperiodicreview@gmail.com, and maybe it could be on a podcast in the future. And so thank you so much for watching. Let's be better humans today than we were yesterday. And from our families to yours, good night.
You're so cute.